Welcome to session 1 of Deserving. In this session today, we will be exploring what it can feel like, what it might look like, and accepting any resistance along the way around receiving love, receiving joy, and believing that we are deserving of those things. So I invite you to have a blanket or two. Blocks, we'll definitely need blocks today, so if you have those, you can go ahead and grab them. And I'll meet you in any seated shape here on your mat. I'm just sitting on a folded blanket. You can sit on a bolster if you prefer that, or if you need a little bit more height, you can always stack some blankets as well. And I'll meet you right here at center. Eyes can be open or closed. And we'll just start to arrive. Starting by finding a little bit of quiet, shifting around if needed, until you find that spot that feels supported. And then you might begin to observe as your body becomes still. Noticing what it feels like for your body to settle in. Knowing that in this class and in every class of Soma Yoga, everything is your choice. Everything is an invitation. And I always honor your choice, what you decide you want to do or not do with your body. So as we move through class today, just know that you do not have to force yourself to do anything that you don't want to do. You can do things that are different than what I'm doing, and that is celebrated. If you would like to, you might join me for a couple cleansing breaths in and out, as many as you feel that you desire. And you might simply watch your breath, keeping it natural, not changing it. Maybe that's where you prefer to be today, or if you do want to explore inhaling a little bit deeper through your nose, perhaps exhaling a sigh out of your mouth, you might explore as many of those as you want. And I'd like to start class by reading a short poem to you by Jacquie Compton. And she writes, "It takes a certain kind of love, the type of love that pulls you on your feet, pulling you to the ground, rooting you to the earth, grounding you, steadying you, loving you in all moments of transformation, as you expand, as you deepen into the core of you." A love that grounds and roots, a love that expands with transformation. It's so often that we pursue other people to provide this love for us, but today in this class, I welcome you to explore what it would feel like to offer that love to yourself. And so you might work with the affirmation, "I am loved. or I deserve love, or perhaps a different affirmation that will support you better in this class. So whatever it is that you'd like to work with, I invite you to bring your hands to heart center, palms touching. And we'll take 3 breaths here, adding in some cactus arms here in just a moment. And each time we bring our hands back to heart center, I invite you to repeat your affirmation, either out loud or in the privacy of your own mind. So when you're ready, we'll exhale our air out. And then if you'd like to join me, you could inhale, reach your arms up overhead. As you exhale, maybe you drop the elbows and gently peel the heart open. Inhale, arms reach back up. Exhale, hands come down to heart center. I am loved. Taking your time, maybe you sweep your arms up again. We'll do that 2 more times. Exhale, cactus arms as we drop our elbows and peel the heart forward. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, hands to heart center. I am deserving of love. Last one, inhale. Exhale, cactus the arms. Inhale to rise. Exhale, hands to heart center. Repeating your affirmation. If you feel complete here, you could release your hands. And we'll take a little bit of a different twist. I'm going to turn so that you can see me better. And with your next inhale, you might begin to reach your arms forward and swim your right arm back, bringing your left hand to your right knee, or the opposite if you want to twist the other way. And then inhale, reach your back arm forward again, keeping your left hand on your knee. You can cross your arms over you, and you don't have to force yourself to reach for your knees. If you are touching the tops of your quads, that's okay too. I don't actually reach my knees. My hands are just touching my legs. Keeping your right hand on your left quad, you could release your other arm, reaching it back behind you. Maybe you exhale here. And then inhale, come back to our crossed arms. Exhale, twist the other way. Continuing to move in your own way, at your own pace. If taking this crisscross pattern is just not what you want to be doing today, and you would prefer to just find just a seated twist, that is also an option. Maybe holding the twist for a little while and then switching sides. We'll take another 1 or 2 movements. Before we come back to center, releasing the arms whenever you feel complete, and maybe rolling through your shoulders, maybe rolling through your wrists, or moving through your neck, if that feels welcome. If you're ready to move into some cat-cows, we could begin to come onto all fours. And I'm going to use my blanket here. So if your knees are sensitive, it might feel nice to have a little bit of support. You can use one blanket like I am, You can use 2 blankets if you need more cushion. It really is just whatever your body is asking for here. So as we set up, option to utilize your blocks here for a little bit of a different cat-cow. I like to have my blocks at the middle height when I'm doing this, just because then my fingers can really wrap around the blocks. However, you can have your blocks at any height. So lowest setting here, highest setting. If you need more height, you choose. This is your body and your practice. So if you want to use the blocks, because you could always forego them and do the exact same movement that we're about to do, then you can have these here or not. So with our raised tabletop, if you will, you might begin to inhale and allow your spine to drape toward the floor. And you might even allow your heart to kind of come forward a little bit. With your exhale, or when you decide to, you could begin to curl the spine back, kind of like a shrimp. And continuing with your breath, you might continue to move in and out. Option 1 is to stay here, continuing to explore your cat-cow as you see fit. Option 3 is to add a little bit of a wave-like motion. So you could inhale, drop your spine down toward the floor. Exhale, curl through the spine. Maybe shift your hips back a little bit as your spine is curled. So my hips are going way back. And then as you inhale, you could shift your hips forward again. And then allowing your hips to come forward. This is like a version of up dog. So allowing your hips to really come forward. And then shifting the hips back, curling through the spine, kind of creating this like wave-like motion. So 2 options, and wherever you're at, we'll be here for another 3 rounds of breath. So 3 movements, 3 rounds of movement. Last one. The next time you pass through center, you might take a pause there. And then continuing to use our blocks, you could begin to step your right foot forward. And this is going to be a really short, low lunge compared to what we normally do. So normally you might have your foot really far forward and we're really stretching through the hips. But this time, see if you could keep it really short, almost like you're creating a box with your legs. Moving your blocks if you need to. And you could always raise your blocks up to a higher height if you'd like a little bit more height here. And then we'll take 3 cat-cows here, and noticing as you do so what you're feeling in your hips. So normally we focus more on the spine, but as you inhale, maybe you draw your spine forward. It's going to be a smaller movement. And then as you exhale, maybe you curl in and notice what happens. What do you feel in your right leg, right hip? Inhale to open. This is our second one. Exhale to curl back. Last one here. Inhale to draw the heart space and the spine forward. Exhale to release, come back to neutral. Option to stay right here if you'd like to continue this low lunge. Or you might begin to take your right hand, press on your right leg and lift yourself up. keeping this shorter low lunge if that works for your body. You might take your right hand, place it on your right side of your back, and inhale, reach your left arm up. And instead of like going into this really big back bend, see if we can feel what it feels like to just draw the hips forward just a little bit. So if you notice, I'm moving just a super tiny bit. So this is one option. A second option is to take a much bigger version of this, which would be to either reach all the way back to the floor. I'm not reaching that way right now. Or you could take a block, reach for your block, and really allow your heart and your spine to come and face up towards the sky. So your two choices here. Third choice is to do anything you want to do. And we'll take one last breath. We'll exhale out. If you feel complete here, you could begin to bring your hands back down to your blocks. Maybe you send your right foot back or whichever foot you had forward. And then option here to take an upward downward facing dog. Good Lord. A downward facing dog with the blocks, or a child's pose, or a down dog without the blocks. So option one, with the blocks, since we're already here, I'm gonna have my blocks at the medium height. If you'd like to explore this, you could tuck your toes, lift your hips, and inhale, big stretch back. Maybe you walk your feet out, bending one knee and then straightening the other, switching them out one at a time, really taking up some space here, some time. You could always take your feet as wide as your mat if your body would appreciate a little bit more room. So that's option one. Option two is the same thing, but without the blocks. So down dog with hands to the mat. Option three, in no particular order, is to allow your knees to come down towards your mat, your toes to touch back behind you, and a nice child's pose here, which is always available to you at any time. Your choice in child's pose could be to rest your forehead on the mat. Maybe you turn your face to one side. Maybe you place your elbows on the floor if you prefer to keep your gaze lifted. So lots of options, because it really just depends where you are at in your body today. So whatever you choose, we'll be here for the next 2 to 3 rounds of breath. And we'll be revisiting these options later in the class, and I won't spend so much time going over them again, but just know that these 3 options are always available. One more inhale and exhale here, taking your time, there's no rush. And then if you are ready to move on, you could begin to bring your knees back down to the mat. If you are in down dog, you could start to shift yourself forward if you were in child's pose. And I'll meet you with the left leg forward, coming back into our boxy low lunge. 3 cat-cows here. If you would like to take them, you could always skip the cat-cow if you would just rather explore this shape and stillness. So we breathe in, draw the heart space forward, exhale to curl inward. 2 more at your own pace. Last one. Next time you pass through center, I'll meet you there. You might choose to stay here or press up onto your front leg, lift on up. Option 1 is to take your left hand to your lower back. Inhale your right arm up. And maybe just gently draw your hips forward. It's a small movement. Option 2 is to take your block. Left hand can reach on back. Bigger back bend here, depending on what you need. One more breath in and out wherever you are. If you're ready to release, I'll meet you back down with our hands on the blocks or the earth. If you're ready to, you could send your left leg back, or whichever leg you had forward. And then option 4, downward facing dog with or without blocks, and child's pose. So you choose. We'll just take 3 breaths wherever you decide to be. Two more breaths. Last one. Maybe you bring your affirmation to the front of your mind. I am loved. I am deserving of love. And if you are ready to release, you might begin to bring your knees right back down to the mat. And this time we'll go for a little bit of a longer low lunge. So option to extend your right leg out back behind you. Maybe you give your ankles and your toes a little bit of a wiggle or circle. And then drawing your right knee forward and planting your right foot on the floor in front of you. Nice low lunge here. You can adjust your blocks to whatever height that your body is needing right now. And maybe you just take a moment to kind of feel this shape. Can you bring some awareness into your left hip? Noticing what you feel there. And then shifting your awareness into your right hip and noticing what sensations are present there. Option to stay right here, or if you'd like, you could begin to send the hips back, lengthen through your right leg by lengthening through your knee. You could allow your right toes to come up off of the mat. Option to hang out here in stillness, or you might rock back and forth, kind of weaving in and out. Tuning into the rhythms of your body. We'll take one more movement in and out. And then the next time you end here in the half splits with your front leg nice and extended, which by the way, you don't have to have your leg completely straight. If you have a bend in your knee, that is more than welcome. You don't have to force yourself to straighten out your leg. But wherever you end up, deep bend, micro bend, wherever it is, you might bring some awareness to your right foot. And here, if you'd like, you can just stay in stillness, or the second option is to join me for some internal and external rotation. So what that looks like is allowing your right foot and your whole leg to follow as you turn your foot out to the right. And then notice that your knee also points in that direction. So it's not just your foot that's moving. And then you could turn your foot and your whole leg to the left, and then to the right, and to the left. Taking a few more just like that if you want to, because you could always forego it if you prefer. Last one. And then I'll meet you back at center. And you could begin to lunge back into your right leg. All right. For this next one, we're going to take our back foot and we're going to pivot it. So our right leg can stay where it's at, but our back foot, so I'm really just picking up my left foot and just bringing it on over so that now I can sit on my my left heel, my left leg. We're gonna weave in and out of this variation of wild thing and extended side angle. So here, with us resting on our left leg, our right leg can kind of stay where it's at, give or take, but doesn't have to be rigid. If you need to adjust your leg, adjust your foot, please do so that you feel more supported. So here, I can take our left hand, swim it on back, plant it on the floor to the side of you, behind you, wherever it feels stable. And then option to press up through your left hip, reach your right arm back. So here's option one. Option two, if you don't want to lift it through your hip, is you could leave your hip connected to your left heel and just reach on back this way. All right, coming to our extended side angle with our right leg bent, lifting our hips off of our bottom heel. You could rest your elbow, your forearm on your right leg, and maybe you reach on over with your left. All right, we're gonna weave in and out of those. However, you can take a pause at any time. You can move slower. So we take our left hand to the floor. Option to press up through the hips or leave them connected. This is a lot of work in our left hips, but you can choose to hang out in one shape. You could choose to only do one of these shapes. You can alter this to whatever you need. All right. Next time you come into your modified extended side angle here, you might begin to come on up. Pivot yourself back forward so that we end up in our low lunge. And then if you're ready, you could send your right leg back. And those three choices here, down dog with or without blocks, or child's pose. Your choice. What does your body need today? Does it need a little bit more rest? Does it need a little bit more heaviness? Then you might choose child's pose. Do you need to expend a bit more energy? You might choose down dog. Do you need a little bit more space, a little bit more support? You might do down dog with the blocks. There's no right or wrong choice here. Last breath in and out. And then whenever you feel complete, you might meet me back in our tabletop. And this time you could step your left leg forward. And let's take a second here to adjust our blocks, to adjust our bodies, making sure that you feel settled and supported in this shape. With your next inhale, I invite you to bring some awareness into your right hip, your right quad, feeling whatever you feel. And then with your next inhale, shifting your awareness into your left hip, your left leg. And if you'd like to, you might join me in exploring half splits by lengthening your left leg, allowing your left toes to peel up off the mat. Option 2, weave in and out, or at any point that you prefer stillness, you might explore that as well. Taking a few more movements here. And the next time you are in a half splits with your left leg extended out in front of you, option to join me for some internal and external rotation by allowing your left foot to turn inward and then outward, allowing your knee and your hip to follow. Taking a couple more if you've chosen to take these. Last one. And the next time your left foot is back at center, you could lunge back into your left knee. And we'll begin to pivot our right ankles and have a seat on our right heel. Okay, we'll begin to weave in and out of our different version of Wild Thing and extended side angles. So you could inhale, lift your right arm up, maybe you plant it on the floor, and you could either keep your hip connected as you open up your chest and your heart, or you could reach through your right hip. You could always lengthen out through your left leg if you want to, but you don't have to. Sitting the hip back down, pressing up and coming into your extended side angle. Left forearm can connect with your left leg. Taking a few more movements in and out. Let's take one more round, and I'll meet you in the extended side angle to finish up. And if you're ready to release on out, you could lift your chest, walk your hands back to center, allow your right leg to straighten out back behind you, and then send your left leg back. All right, this is our very last down dog and child's pose. 3 options that we've been doing. So if you would like to take one more down dog, you can. Not that this will be the last time we visit child's pose, but if you need to expend a little bit more energy, here's your chance. Option to take a cleansing breath in and out, breathing deeply through your nose and sighing it out of your mouth. If you're ready, you could begin to shift yourself forward. And stepping your right foot forward, tucking your back toes, you might begin to lift up on your back leg. Option 1 is to stay right here. Option 2, you might like to bring your blocks to the highest height. Option 2 is to lengthen through your front leg and return to that peeling of the toes off of the floor. This is called cat lunge. If you choose to come into this, you could either allow your back heel to sink down toward the mat, doesn't have to touch, or you could choose to press up through your toes and really draw your right toes back. So you decide, as we just breathe here, wherever you choose to be, for one more breath. If you are in cat lunge, you might begin to bend back into your right knee, and we'll begin to settle into a pigeon pose. I'm going to show it two different ways. Here's option one, is to take your right foot and walk it on over to the left. As we lower our back knee onto the floor, lower our right knee onto the floor, untuck your back foot, and settle in. You could decide to stay lifted and stay up, or you could decide to bring your elbows or your chest down toward the floor, maybe even using your block to support your head. So here's option one. Option two, if your hips are feeling like they would just really appreciate some support right now, maybe still feeling a little bit tight or tender, you could grab a blanket, keep it folded or even rolled up, and then taking that blanket, you could also use a bolster here, and place it underneath your right hip especially. Notice how that can lift you up off of the ground a little bit. It kind of takes the edge off of the sensation. And so you can, if one folded blanket is not enough, you could use the bolster, or you could even roll up your blanket. Sometimes that makes it thicker. So you choose what is going to serve your body best in this moment, because we're going to be here for a good 8 to 10 breaths. However, you can stay as long as you want to. You can leave whenever you want to. You do not have to be here just because I'm here. This is your practice. About 3 or 4 more breaths. You might bring your affirmation to the front of your mind, noticing if there's any resistance to the idea of loving yourself or believing that you are deserving of love. And can you extend love even to the resistance, if there is any, knowing that if it feels uncomfortable to extend love to yourself for any reason, even that discomfort can be loved. If you feel complete here in this side of our pigeon pose, you might slowly begin to make your way up. And using your hands on the floor or using your blocks, if you want to continue our theme, could begin to tuck your back toes, lift up on your back knee, and allow your right leg to straighten out. And then we'll switch sides. So bringing your left foot forward this time, option 1 is to tuck your back toes and lift up your back knee. You could stay right here. Option 2 is to lengthen through your front leg and allow your toes to come up off of the mat for our cat lunge. Breathing here. Last breath. If you're ready to release, you could bend back into your front knee. Walk your front foot over to the right so that you can allow your back knee to come to the floor and your front knee as well as it falls open to the side. Settling in for your pigeon pose. And remember here that you can take your blanket or a bolster and settle it underneath your hips. If you don't have any extra blankets or bolsters available, you could even use a block. It's not going to be as comfy, but it will work in supporting you and keeping you from being so far off of the floor. At any point that you'd like to bring your elbows to the mat, you can. And we'll be here for another 8 to 10 breaths. It takes a certain kind of love. The type of love that pulls you on your feet, pulling you to the ground, rooting you to the earth, grounding you, steadying you, loving you in all moments of transformation as you expand, as you deepen into the core of you. Can you extend some love to yourself in this moment of your transformation? Another 3 rounds of breath or so. Last one. You can choose to stay here for as long as you want. And at any point that you are ready to press yourself up, I'll meet you there, allowing your front leg to unravel, maybe reaching it back behind you, giving it a stretch. And then option 2, find a child's pose. Maybe here you even use a blanket, or a bolster even, either in front of you, resting it on the floor, allowing yourself to be held a little bit more, or that might not even be high enough, you might need a bolster, or you can wrap the blanket back around you, covering yourself, kind of cocooning yourself in for just a little bit. Taking any version of child's pose that you want here. If You don't want to keep your gaze down to the earth. You could always turn your head to the side. You could always stack your fists and either rest your forehead on your fists or rest your chin. And as we're here for the next 5 to 6 breaths, I welcome you just to feel whatever your experience is right now. Just feel it. No judgment, no expectations, no criticism, just awareness and acceptance as much as you can. You could choose to stay here in this child's pose for as long as you want. And we'll begin to move into our time of rest. So if you'd like to change shapes and be in any other shape that is restful to you, I invite you to find it now. A few options, if you're unsure of what that looks like for you, a few options would be to maybe lie on your back, perhaps taking a bolster or even a rolled blanket and placing it behind your knees so that your lower back is a bit more supported. Another option is to lie on your stomach or lie on your side. You could always choose to find a supported seated shape if you prefer to stay seated. Maybe even allowing your back to rest against the wall or something else so that you have just a bit more support. Allowing yourself to settle in as I guide us through just a short meditation. This meditation is by Deborah Adele. When you're ready, you might take a conscious breath in through your nose and then let it go. And in this moment, I invite you to entertain the possibility to even imagine and believe it as true for just this moment that you are perfectly whole and complete. That there is nothing wrong with you. That you are not bad. You are not broken. You are whole. You are complete. You are perfect as is. There's no need to expect from yourself or to criticize or judge anything about you. No need to compete with anyone. No need to be more or less than you are. Notice how this feels. Notice what comes up for you without judgment. You can stay in this experience for as long as you'd like, or you might take it with you throughout the week, continuing to return to this idea that you are whole and complete as you are. There is nothing to fix. You are lovable. You are loved just as you are. There is nothing that you need to do to deserve this love. Now I'll be quiet for just another couple minutes, about 2 minutes, and I'll let you know when that time is complete. You can stay here in this place of rest for as long as you like. There's no rush to move away from it. Thank you for joining me in class today. I hope that you feel safe, connected, and at home in your body. Thank you.